The Unitarian Universalist bylaws start with our 7 principles and our 6 sources. The 7th principle is the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. I remember in a former church when a retired Methodist minister was joining, he said, "I won't tell anybody out in this congregation, but that's where God is. That's God, that interdependent web of which we are a part." The first of our sources follows this 7th principle and is congruent with it. It is that direct experience of that transcending mystery and wonder affirmed in all cultures, which moves us to a renewal of the spirit and an openness to the forces which create and uphold life. I'm glad that the UUA and those who voted on this listed this first, for it refers to Transcendentalism, the only one of the sources that originated within our tradition. We are the descendants of Christianity and brought new interpretations of Christianity to bear in the idea of Unitarianism and Universalism. And the rest of the sources talk about different religious and and secular philosophies that we embrace as part of the whole. But Transcendentalism started amongst the Unitarians. Now, the Unitarians had worked really hard through Channing to define themselves as non-Trinitarian, that Jesus never claimed that he was God. But shortly after they were formed in 1825, in 1838, Emerson gave his divinity school address to the graduating class of Unitarian ministers at Harvard. And Emerson turned Unitarianism on its head. He said not only was Jesus God, but I am God, and you are God, and you are God, and you are God. This movement took place mostly among Unitarians with Bronson Alcott and Henry Hedge and others. It also included Walt Whitman, who attended the Universalist Church in Washington, D.C., and it gave voice to abolitionism and feminism through Lydia Marie Child, Margaret Fuller, and Louisa May Alcott. It encourages people to trust their personal experience with that which they perceive to be holy. Direct experience of transcending mystery and wonder. The search begins not in church or scripture, but with oneself. Emily Dickinson, a second-generation transcendentalist, wrote, "I am out with lanterns, looking for myself." Thoreau wrote, "Be yourself, not your idea of what you think someone else's idea of yourself should be." And in the early 20th century, Unitarian poet E. E. Cummings wrote, "It takes courage to grow up and become who you really are. And again, going back to Emerson, the only person you are destined to become is the person you decide to be. This transcendent mystery and wonder begins with the self. But as in with meditation, when you go in deep, you realize that yourself is one with the great self of the universe. And this is something that Transcendentalism borrowed from Hinduism. In Hinduism, there is the concept of Atman, the individual soul, and Brahman, the overarching soul. And that these two are connected and inseparable. So it's that idea of letting yourself be open to your true self, which is so much bigger than what you had perceived yourself. It is the self of dreams. The transcendent mystery and wonder is a land of dreamers, and it may seem unreal to those around you, but pursuing it makes one's life worthwhile. Thoreau wrote, "Go confidently in the direction of your dreams. Live the life you have imagined. If you have built castles in the air, your work need not be lost. That is where they should be. Now put the foundations under them." It's that sense of that you dream and then you work. Be led by your highest notions. Emerson wrote, "Don't be pushed by your problems, be led by your dreams." And a 20th century Unitarian Universalist, Christopher Reeves, who played Superman in the movies, and then showed his real strength as he inspired us after he was disabled. He said, "At first dreams seem impossible, then improbable, then inevitable." Margaret Fuller said, "Only the dreamer shall understand realities." But she had a caution of that making dreams turn into work. She said, "Though in truth, dreaming must not be out of proportion to waking." It's that sense that we can imagine everything, and we should strive towards that, even if we're not ever going to make it. Louisa May Alcott said, "Far away there in the sunshine are my highest aspirations. I may not reach them, but I can look up and see their beauty, believe in them, and try to follow where they lead." If Emerson is known for his refulgent over-expression, Emily Dickinson, 50 years later, is known for the conciseness of her words. And she summed it up by saying, "Dwell in possibility." This optimism of the American character of self-reliance embodies the American dream of adventure. But it's not limited to American culture. It is a human experience that people of all nations follow. One person who shared this impulse and who was influenced by Transcendentalism was the Bengali poet Rabindranath Tagore. Or more accurately, the Transcendentalists and he were influenced by Ramoon Roy. In the early 19th century, Roy founded a Unitarian form of Hinduism. called the Brahmo Samaj. It was Roy's translation of the Rig Veda that Thoreau took with him to read while he was at Walden. Tagore's father succeeded Roy as the leader of the Brahmo Samaj. Rabindranath, who was born in 1861, won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1913. And it's no surprise that his writings have a transcendentalist feel. He wrote, "Love is an endless mystery, for it has nothing else to explain it. We cross infinity with every step. We meet eternity in every second. The object of education is to give man the unity of truth. I believe in a spiritual world, not as anything separate from this world, but as its innermost truth. With the breath we draw, we must always feel this truth, that we are living in God." This sense of living in God is felt most particularly by the American Unitarian Universalists in nature. Walt Whitman said, "A morning glory at my window satisfies me more than all the metaphysics of books." And again, Dickinson said, "Hope, the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and never stops at all." And Tagore, "Faith is the bird that feels the light and sings when the dawn is still dark." And Emerson said, "Adopt the pace of nature. Her secret is patience." And of course, Thoreau, "Nature is full of genius, full of the divinity, so that not a snowflake escapes its fashioning hand." And Margaret Fuller, who described her transcendental experiences escaping from the hubbub of a Thanksgiving morning and going out into the cold woods. And suddenly a beam of light came through and she realized that she was one with everything. And as she reflected on this, she said, "Very early, I knew that the only object in life is to grow. The forces that create and uphold life may be God, but not in a distant or a separate God, but one that is united with the humanity in the world." Said best by Whitman, "In the faces of men and women, I see God. I say to mankind, be not curious about God, for I who am curious about each am not curious about God. I hear and behold God in every object, yet understand God not in the least." Emerson said, "Within humanity is the soul of the whole, the wise silence, the universal beauty." It may be the power of love, as described by Tagore. Love is the only reality and is not a mere sentiment. It is the ultimate truth that lies at the heart of creation. And Lydia Marie Child said, "The cure for all ills and wrongs, the sorrows and the crimes of humanity, all lie in one word, love. It is the divine vitality, that everywhere produces and restores life. Margaret Fuller urged us, let us mount on the wings of morning, flying for joy of the flight, wild with all longing, now soaring, now staying, mingling like day and dawn, swinging and swaying, hung like a cloud in the light. I am immortal. I feel it. I feel it. Love bears me up. Love is might. It's odd that this focus on the self, this belief on the self, the audacity to think that my soul is part and parcel of what is God, what is divine, is paradoxical. Emerson, who, if you've ever read his writings, you don't get the sense that he was a humble man. But he had his moments. He said, religion is to do right. It is to love. It is to serve. It is to think. It is to be humble. Tagore says, it is very simple to be happy, but it is difficult to be simple. Margaret Fuller said, men, for the sake of getting a living, forget to live. We get so busy trying to make something of ourselves, so busy trying to accumulate things, whether it be prestige or tangible things or security or all these things that we try to get to prove that we're important, disappear when one realizes one's true worth, one's true connection to the divine. Thoreau famously wrote, our life is frittered away by details. Simplify, simplify. Walt Whitman echoes this in the phrase, I exist as I am, and that is enough. Emily Dickinson took it a little bit farther. She said, find ecstasy in this life. The mere sense of living is joy enough. Center oneself and realize that one is connected to everything. We concentrate on our breath going in and out. We realize the miracle of our own existence is part and parcel of the miracle of all existence. And we can't be separated from that divine spark, that overwhelming cosmos in any way. Our bodies may be temporary, but we are part of an eternal existence, which makes us feel awesome and in awe. May we bless and be blessed. Please join